This is one of the most interesting parts of the chapter to me. There are two references to Jesus' right hand in the book of Revelation. They're both right here, and they're both one verse apart from each other. In his right hand, he held seven stars, which in verse 20, we're going to be told that these are the seven angels of the churches. And it says, when I saw him, I felt his feet like a dead man, and he placed his right hand on me. So the hand with the angels is placed on John, saying, do not be afraid, I am the first and the last. First thing to note, a coin from the reign of Domitian, most likely the emperor when John wrote Revelation, features an icon of the infant son of the emperor seated on a globe and holding seven stars. So in Rome, the emperor was not usually regarded as a living god. He was regarded as son of God, right? Why is that? Well, when an emperor died, he experienced apotheosis. He's taken into heaven to become a god. And so the emperor dies, and then somebody out in the city or the countryside says, I saw the emperor go up. They go into the Roman capital and they proclaim it. I saw the emperor going up. And so everybody says, okay, the emperor has died. He's experienced apotheosis. He has gone to heaven to become a god. And that means his son, who's now on the throne, is son of God. Right? Again, you're starting to see the tension between the Christian narrative and the Roman imperial narrative. It's not the case that Christians were just like, oh, we love the government and we love Rome. I mean, they certainly weren't violent and they certainly paid their taxes, but there are major ideological tensions. And by the time Revelation is written, at least the local Roman provincial leaders in Asia Minor are persecuting the church. In fact, they've already killed at least one person, as we'll find when we see the address to the church at Pergamum. And so Domitian, though, he liked this notion of being regarded as a god even before he died. He was going to be God before his apotheosis. So he started being regarded as God just as a man in Rome. Well, his infant son dies. Well, after his infant son dies, he mints this coin. He says, well, since I'm a god, my son is son of God. And he has him holding seven stars. So now at this time, Jesus is depicted as the Son of God holding seven stars. And so if you're one of the Christians in these congregations, and this is read to you, you're going to pull a coin out of your pocket, and you're going to see the reference. Oh, this is a shot at the Roman emperor. Now, in the Bible, the right hand signifies power and comfort and investiture. Now, here's something I've been saying for years, and I thought I was really cool because I was saying this. And then finally, this particular scholar, I love him, but he gets on my nerves because, like, all the stuff I was going to say in my dissertation, almost 100% of it was original. Well, he publishes his commentary on Revelation a few years ago, and he stole like 40% of my content. Like, he didn't actually steal it. He just came up with it by himself. I'm like, who is this guy? Well, then he did it again right here. He says, since Jesus touches John with the right hand, he associates John with the stars. And in fact, he places John in his right hand and makes him one of his stars. John is writing to the seven angels of the seven churches, and he is at the right hand of Jesus, the chief star, writing to the seven stars, an angel messenger writing to angels. And so this book is about being angelified, being lifted to angel status. The reason he's holding angels and then he touches John with that hand is he just angelified John. And that's going to help us at later points in the book, because John is going to do things that in the Old Testament only angels do. And the last thing to consider, verse 20. As for the mystery of the seven stars which you saw in my right hand, and the seven golden lampstands, the seven stars are the angels of the seven churches, and the seven lampstands are the seven churches. So no need to discuss the seven lampstands. We know those are the seven churches. But what about the seven angels of the churches? What are they? Does each church have its own patron angel in the unseen realm, a sort of guardian angel? This is not the way the church traditionally read this over the past 2,000 years, but this has become the dominant theory in biblical scholarship. And for the life of me, I cannot understand it. I think this is wrong. But nevertheless, the reason they think this is because passages in Daniel and elsewhere talk about nations having a representative angel. And so they're like, okay, well, maybe these churches have a representative angel. Some issues, though. Why would God need John to deliver a message to angels? Why couldn't God just get the message to them in the unseen realm instead of using a human intermediary? Presumably, angels have their own source of news. I mean, presumably, angels have a way of finding out things about the divine. To imagine that an angel is going to give this message to John, and John's going to write it down on paper and mail it to the 7 churches, and it's going to be read to these people, and this is how the angel's supposed to learn about the contents. He's sitting there invisibly, and he's like, oh, let me get a hearing of that. It's just so bizarre. Why would that be the case? Furthermore, when the angel gets addressed at each church, he's not guilty of like fallen angel sins. He's guilty of human sins. Here's an example. To the angel of the church in Laodicea, write, I know your deeds, and in Greek it's singular, he's talking to the angel, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish that you were cold or hot. Because you say, I am rich and have become wealthy and have need of nothing, and you do not know that you are wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. This angel is guilty of materialism, of being too into his job, of making too much money and forgetting about the grace of God. It's just bizarre. I don't get it. Are the churches themselves personified as angels? In Revelation 14, 3 angels will proclaim the gospel and a message of judgment. They seem to represent the church living out its calling. Makes sense well enough. But again, here it would be bizarre. He just told us the 7 lampstands represent the 7 churches. And then he says the 7 angels, or the 7 stars represent 7 angels, which are also the 7 churches, which are already represented by the lampstands. Again, it just doesn't strike me as coherent. The pre-modern interpretation, the one I hold and the one that the church has traditionally held, is that the angels represent the pastors or bishops of these churches. In apocalyptic literature, angels provide encouragement and interpret the vision. Presumably, the leaders at each of the 7 churches would need to do these 2 things for their churches in a time of persecution. There are other places in the book where people are elevated to the level of angels. We just saw that, right? If with John being touched with the angel hand, we'll see that multiple times. And so, if we're going to discuss the human leaders at these churches in angelic terms, well, that's just par for the course. The book does this. It just skipped a point, and I can't go back because it's in record mode. But the last point was that the church, even when it's on earth, it is discussed often in Revelation as though it's in heaven, just like the angels are. And so these things make me think that the angels of the churches are the human leadership, and the negative arguments I mentioned a moment ago, I think, are even more powerful to say why would they need John to give them a message, to say how would angels be guilty of these very human sins. I just think it makes more sense to go with the traditional explanation and say that the angels are the pastors of these churches. Okay, so tomatoes are being launched at the teacher. That is my cue to put a fork in it.